Welcome to Blue Collar Catholic. In New York City, more black babies are aborted than born every year. Listen to that again. More black babies are aborted than born every year in New York City. The African American race is the only minority race whose population is in decline in the United States. I submit to you that this is by design by the very people who say they're the friends, the best friends of African Americans. Margaret Sanger said this: "Colored people are human weeds and need to be exterminated." Margaret Sanger also said, and I just actually watched this on an old YouTube video, she was speaking to Mike Wallace. You can Google Mike Wallace, Margaret Sanger, very enlightening. She also said she really enjoys speaking to the KKK, because at the KKK rallies, they get really enthusiastic for what she says. Like she advocates sterilization for the black race, or as she calls them, the Negro race or the colored race. And she has a plan. Yeah, she has a plan to do this. Okay? So who is Margaret Sanger? Well, Margaret Sanger was famous for starting the Negro Project. It was a project to exterminate the Negro race in America. And then she got a little wiser how to go about it and started a new project called Planned Parenthood. Okay? And she said that the best way to eliminate the colored people would be to put these Planned Parenthood clinics in poor neighborhoods, predominantly black neighborhoods. And she's succeeding, because today 90% of Planned Parenthood clinics are in poor black neighborhoods, okay? And the black race is in decline. More black babies in New York City are being aborted than born, and I'm sure in other cities, if you look up the statistics, they're similar. So she's succeeding. So I really try and stay away from politics on this channel. I have another channel called Rob the Blue Collar Guy that I started years before this channel, which I talk more about politics. But you can't separate politics from this issue, okay? So I'm going to bring in politics a little bit, and I'm going to quote a famous politician, Hillary Clinton, speaking just 2 years ago at a Planned Parenthood clinic where they were celebrating Margaret Sanger's birthday or something. They were celebrating Margaret Sanger, the woman that said colors are human weeds. They love her, you know, she's the founder. At that ceremony, Hillary Clinton said this about Margaret Sanger: "I admire Margaret Sanger greatly. I am in awe of Margaret Sanger." No surprise that in a debate with Trump, she was asked straight up by Trump, "Do you support abortion through the 9th month?" And she admitted it. You know, years ago they used to try and hide it. Now they're out in the open. She just admitted it. And that's the Democratic Party supports abortion through the 9th month. In fact, Hillary Clinton was also heard on tape saying, where she said she doesn't consider the unborn baby to have any rights till it leaves the hospital. In other words, the mother could kill it even after it's born. This is the extremism within the Democrat Party right now. The party of abortion. The party of science deniers that deny this is a human child in the womb. Okay? It's not surprising Hillary Clinton would admire and be in awe of Margaret Sanger. She also said at Robert Byrd's funeral, "He was a mentor to me." If you're not familiar with Robert Byrd, when he died in 2010, was the third-ranking Democrat senator in the Senate. Robert Byrd was also a former Grand Wizard of the KKK. Bill Clinton said about that when he was asked, how come you guys are such good friends with Robert Byrd? He's a, Grand Wizard of KKK. Bill Clinton, to his credit, admitted, well, back in the day, you'd have to be a member of the KKK if you were a Democrat. Okay, so he admitted this truth, this historical truth that the media tries to whitewashed, like it never happened. That the KKK was started by the Democrats. Okay? So, again, I didn't want to make this a partisan Republican Democrat issue on my channel, on this channel particularly. But if you're a Catholic, if you're an evangelical, if you call yourself a Christian, you cannot allow this black genocide to happen on our watch. Just like the Christians who didn't do anything about slavery back in the day are guilty of a mortal sin. If you're a Catholic Christian, if you're an evangelical Christian, if you're an Orthodox Christian, and you just allow this sin of abortion to take place in our country, you're just as guilty as them. And I believe if you're voting for pro-choice candidates, you're committing a mortal sin. I'm no theologian, so I might be wrong, but I don't see how I could be wrong. If you commit abortion, it's a mortal sin. So if you support the people that are allowing it, to me, it seems like a mortal sin. You know, Margaret Sanger had a plan. She said, we'll put these abortion clinics, well, they were sterilization clinics. It was before abortion was legal in all the states, but they were trying to sterilize them. That was another way. She wanted to sterilize the colored people, okay? And that's what they did. They put them in black communities. Another way she wanted to destroy the black race, she said that, you know, we have to hire black leaders, preferably reverends, because they're very respected within the colored community, as you would say back then. So that's why, because you might ask, well, why do blacks support, you know, why are so many blacks in the Democrat Party? Well, number one, a lot of leaders sold out, just like in the New Testament, you had Jewish tax collectors that were taking money from the Jews, so they were benefiting by oppressing the Jews, their own people. I believe a lot of these black leaders are doing that today, but a lot of them are just naive. They don't realize it. They're convinced of the lie that, you know, the Democrat Party's on their side. Martin Luther King Jr. did not believe that. He was a Republican. So, and his granddaughter doesn't believe that either. I think her name is Olivia King or something. I forget her name, but she doesn't believe that either. In fact, she was involved in a new movie I recommend everybody go see, called Roe vs. Wade, which is getting shunned by social media. They won't put it, you know, again, the media, you know, I know you guys heard this before, but the media is run by liberal elites. They don't want this out about abortion, you know, because they don't want the truth to be known. Also, hashtag walk away started by an African American. He had a meme on Facebook. It said, Planned Parenthood kills more blacks in one day than the KKK killed in their entire history, which is a fact. But Facebook, again, run by liberal elitists, took that meme down. And then this hashtag walk away is all these blacks walking away from the Democratic Party. Supposedly they got like 2 million people walk away. I don't know. You know, I don't have the resources to see if this statistic is true at this point. But of course, CNN and all these other liberal elitist stations are saying no. The walk away was started by some Russian hackers. It's not really true. But you have Candace Owens, who's a living, breathing, flesh and bones human being, black American, who claims that she's part of this walk away movement, and there's 2 million followers. So there you have that. So that's the politics of it. And there's a lot more politics of it. If you really want to get into the politics of it, I would recommend my other YouTube channel, Rob the Blue Collar Guy. I made a video a few years back called Racism in America, The Shocking Truth. You can check that out. It really goes through the politics of it. But like I said, the title of this, I didn't want this to be clickbait. The title is Racism, Politics, and the Church. So let me get to the church. In the first century, in the Roman world, in Roman world, ruled most of the world in the first century, the father had full authority over his family. If a baby was born and the father didn't want it for whatever reason, thought it was weak, thought he didn't need a female, wanted all males, whatever, he could just discard the baby. And a common practice was they would just drop the baby off in the forest to die. If the baby wasn't killed by wild animals, torn apart by wild beasts, it normally starved to death. The only hope that baby had was these people that were from this new religion called Christianity. And these Christians would go into the forest looking for these babies, and they would adopt them. They would save the babies. First century, I'm talking 50 AD, right after Christ died. And the Catholic Church has been saving babies for 2,000 years. The Catholic Church has been pro-choice. When these other churches have, come and went and wishy-washy, Catholic Church has stayed strong and pro-life. And I didn't realize that when I was an evangelical some 25, 30 years ago. I went to an abortion mill in Virginia Beach where I was stationed at the time. And I just watched the amazing work these pro-lifers were doing. Not only saving babies, talking to these women, but bringing these women to Christ, bringing these women to Jesus, saving these women's souls as well as saving their babies. Miraculous, the boldness I've seen in these Christians. In fact, this one Christian, Tom Venditti, is probably still involved with the movement. I know he's still involved with the movement. He was so bold and so on fire for the Lord. I was amazed. I wanted to know more about this guy. So I said, Tom, what church did you go to? He goes, St. Matthew's. And I was an evangelical, so I was like, St. Matthew's, that's funny. I go, sound like you said St. Matthew's. He goes, I did say St. Matthew's. I said, that's funny. It sounds like a Catholic church. He goes, it is a Catholic church. I go, that's funny. Why would you go to a Catholic church? He goes, because I am Catholic. I said, why are you Catholic? And then he schooled me on why he's Catholic, and it was very enlightening at the time. I wish I would have came back to the church at that time, but it took me 25 more years, and I actually called him up and reunited with him 25 years later. And I reminded him about one of the women that he sidewalk counseled and talked about her killing her baby. And he said that he had just gotten a photograph of the kid. He graduated college. So that's the fruit of the church. But what was amazing to me as an evangelical, I would say I was involved with that movement during that time for a couple of years, and 90% of the people were Catholics. I was like, where are the evangelicals? Where are the Baptists? Where are the Pentecostals? They weren't there. Yet, inside of evangelical churches, 90% of the people vote pro-life. They would not dare vote pro-choice. And then when I became Catholic, I realized there's a lot of Democrat, I don't know if they would call themselves pro-choice, but they're voting for pro-choice candidates in the Catholic Church. And again, I want to say I think this is a sin. I think there's some bishops that won't even give communion to Democrat senators and congressmen because they're complicit in the death of babies. I mean, again, I keep coming back to politics, and I apologize. This is supposed to be like a religious channel, but it's hard to separate the politics on this issue here. And as Catholics and as evangelicals, if I got any evangelicals watching, you really need to take this serious. This is like the slavery of our day. And what did the Christians do back? My Southern Baptist brothers, I know you guys love the Lord, and I know you guys are pro-life. But the Southern Baptists during slavery, they were on the wrong side of slavery. Don't make the same mistake and be on the wrong side of abortion. With all due respect. And my Catholic brothers and sisters, my goodness, the Catholic Church is pro-life. We love life. You need to get on the right side. So there's so much more I can say about this. I would recommend going to my other channel, Rob the Blue Collar Guy, and Google, just tap in racism, the shocking truth. So God bless. I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye.